If you really want to improve your driving technique, you cannot just ask someone to tell you when to brake or when to turn. You have to learn how the car wants you to drive it. You have to learn car handling techniques, and that's where I excel at. The Motor Racing Checklist is the work of my life, currently with 2,000 drivers registered, and here's the thing. If you don't improve in 30 days, you get your money back. So give it a try. If you have any questions, just send me a message. I'm always available to answering these questions. This course is made for high-level drivers. If you're a beginner, you're gonna use it for a long time because all these concepts will help you right away. But the more you improve, the more you understand them, and then you're able to squeeze every concept to the limit, and you're gonna gain precision to be able to apply them in a very subtle way that most people don't even notice a difference in your driving. But those are the small things that make you improve a tenth per corner, and then if you just add up those tenths, you realize you're 1 second faster than everyone else. Give it a try. If you have any question, just send me a message.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Live from iRacing's virtual circuit Zandvoort in the Netherlands, we say good afternoon, sim racing fans, and welcome to Podium's continuing coverage of the BiS Formula 1600 Championship Series. As always, our coverage tonight brought to you by MotorRacingChecklist.com 2.0 and Turn 1 Sim Racing, where champions are born. As we welcome you into the podium booth, our producers Christian Hill, alongside with Daniel Zippy Salmon and myself, Evan Pasoko, on the call. And gentlemen, back at it again for what is the start of the second half of this championship. Zip, we were just talking about how it's been a while since we started this championship back at Road Atlanta in November, and that championship picture has slowly started to evolve. It included a change for the top spot in the championship at our last points race 2 weeks ago at Donington, and tonight should prove to be another fun challenge.
Absolutely. It's certainly going to be a good night tonight. Broomhead's actually taking the lead right now, so I'm really hoping that the rest of the field can absolutely sort this guy out. I mean, this is the league organizer. He cannot be winning the championship that he created. That's just not on. And I'm sure that John Bemble, Stuart Ross, certainly Zach Buchanan, if he's around, I got my eye on him. I think he's got potential. You got Asad Nakanabayev in there as well. But we do have some returning champions as well, some returning talent. You know, Gladiator Road Racing, they were really dominant in the last season of the F1600s, but we're not actually seeing them back yet this year. But however, we've got Britain West Motorsport, Lima Racing, as you can see, they're represented by John Bemble. Also, Cedric O'Hine runs with them as well. I think Matthew Mailman is going off the top of my head. And we also have Generic Sim Sports as well. So there is definitely people in the running who can certainly try and rattle the tree a little bit and get Broomhead down off that top perch.
And there's no shock that when you see the fact that it is the Intrace Britannia iSports team leading the team championship, that they've got Michael Broomhead leading the drivers championship, and that second driver in Nick Horvath right there in ninth as well, right? Benville into P2 in the points, no shock. Lima Racing, therefore P2 in the team championship. So obviously when your drivers are running good on their own, you're going to be doing good in that team championship. But certainly those gaps were pretty small, right? It's only a 12-point advantage for Broomhead, and we've seen drivers pull a 50, 60-point gap so far through the first 3 points races of the year. So even though we like to think we've got a pretty good idea of how this championship's going to shape up, just as much can happen in the back three, right? So it really is important when you've got those double features all the time, you've got the inverts, that you bring it every single week. And to your point, I don't think anybody wants to get beat up by Broomhead. He's the league organizer, bit of bragging rights as well. So not that the drivers are lacking inspiration, but I don't think they have any intention on making this easy on him.
I definitely think they will become a unified front to get Broomhead off that top porch. And we're certainly going to be cheering every step of the way. I mean, we love to give Mike a bit of a hard time for sure, but, you know, I mean, he's good for it. But there's plenty of competition as well. And certainly, you know, it just goes to show, like, attrition is the name of the game. Myself, I think anything can happen in these races, and I think Mike's been pretty lucky recently. Well, we're going to see if that luck continues tonight. Zandvoort's quite a wide track. I think there's a little bit more potential, a bit more room. Certainly, you know, we had a good run last time as well, but then banked corners, I think it's going to add another dynamic as well. And we'll take a bit of a closer look at the track here.
Yeah, continuing the international swing of this calendar as we stay in Europe and in the Netherlands and Zandvoort, and you can see a look above this 1.57-mile circuit. Another one of our pre-race discussions was how many corners do these racetracks have? Because everywhere you go, everyone's got a different count, some as many as 14 to get around this place. But you're right, it is a long trip around here. Of course, a track that features on the Formula One calendar as well, which I don't think we can say about any of the other tracks that we've been to so far this season in terms of Road Atlanta, Chicago Street Course. Of course, we'll have some very unique ones, but this is a big racetrack for relatively smaller cars, so space could be there. We've seen some of the other cars in the BIS world go to some of these Formula One circuits, but exciting to see them here with the F1600s. And let's talk context too, because we mentioned it's round 4 at the championship. Well, where do we fall on the calendar, right? There is a non-points race coming up next time out in 2 weeks as we head down under to Bathurst for the King of the Mountain. That one will not count towards the championship. So the ones, that'll be fun. Don't get me wrong. We'll be there. We hope you tune in. But the focus really is Zandvoort, Phillip Island, and Mosport. These back 3 are going to dictate who walks away with this F1600 championship.
Certainly, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the King of the Mountain round. I think it's going to be absolute carnage, but we're not there yet, and certainly finishing on Mosport as well. I do think, as we're looking at Zandvoort, and certainly as I look at the other tracks in the schedule, there is going to be some draft battling going on, and I think we're slowly going to learn as well which corners tend to be the best passing zones. I can see turn 3 being pretty hot, where it's that nice 180-degree chicane. Certainly turns 11 and 12 having a similar effect as well. But honestly, you know, there's so much real estate on this track. You know, the opportunities, I think, are going to be aplenty.
Well, of course, we're going to be with you through all of those, and hope that you join us on the other Wednesdays as well for everything else going on through the BIS ranks. But there is a lot of points up for grabs tonight in this F1600 championship, and we'll remind you about how the format works, right? It's big context in terms of how the points will be divvied up tonight. Right now, the drivers wrapping up a 20-minute qualifying session, and then we've got a triple feature on deck. 15 minutes. The second race grid will be determined exactly as they finish in the first. And then that invert, which has been, I think, the biggest twist zip so far this season in terms of no one's been able to go out and win all 3 races. That invert always throws a wrench into things. And it means that if you don't get the result you want in a race 1, you can work to improve, get some points out of race 2, play the invert for you. So consistency is key, no doubt, across all 3. But the fact that we have 3 races every single night means there are lots of opportunities for drivers to score points.
Absolutely, and I think for me, race 3 has always been my favourite because you do get that inverted top 10, and it can mean that the person who potentially bombed out in race 1, race 2, this is their chance to recover, have another crack at the podium, and you know, you just give them a head start immediately. But on the flip side as well, I mean, sometimes it can be an absolute saving grace. You can be further back, and everybody has a little whoops moment, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're moving hard through the field. You know, it just adds such an extra dynamic. I mean, in theory, you think, okay, the fastest guy's always out and up at the front, but you know what? This is the BiS F1600 Championship. That's not always how it works. You know, these guys race close. I mean, we're going to see it tonight. I'm sure you're going to see inches of space, inches.
And part of that, of course, is the race details include fixed setups, so no real mechanical difference behind each of the cars. It'll all come down to the driver. Going to be tough to separate themselves from each other. They also do have a spare car, so quick fix available for all of them over the course of these races. They will be capped at a 12x for a penalty, 17x to DQ you. That hasn't been too much of an issue so far this season, but it is good to note in terms of drivers who may have had some issues early and want to be able to stay on track to try to compete to the end. As you can take in some of the sights around this Zandvoort circuit as that qualifying session is rounding to a close, and we're just about set for the first of 3 feature races on the afternoon, and continuing on into the back half of this championship as the clock ticks down and strikes 0. That will be it for the 20-minute open qualifying session. So let's go down trackside and take a look at your starting grid for feature race number 1. And it will be the championship points leader, Michael Broomhead, on pole with a 142.904. He'll be joined on the front row by the 67 of Stuart Ross. Zach Buchanan and Asad Nakatembev will make up row 2. They'll start in 3rd and 4th position. John Benvalid will roll from the number 5 spot. Mika Dorn in the 64 car will join there from P6. Nick Horvat, the 382, right in the middle, P7 on the grid, ahead of James Doherty in 8th. Richard Swindells is 9th, and Cedric O'Hyan rounds out your top 10.
And in 11th place, we have Mr. Matthew Murphy alongside Graham Wadman in 12th. That's row 6. Have a look at row 7. We have Mr. James Carter there with Clovis Gerard. And as we're going through the grid as well, just look at how close these times are as well. As we take a look very quickly, row 8 of Phil Amaro and Matthew Mailman. Such close qualifying times, absolutely insane tension among the field.
And it'll be a standing start for all 3 of these features on the night, and the green lights are on. We're off and away into feature race number 1 in the Netherlands. It's a good jump. Broomhead, your pole sitter, looking to lead for the first time to turn 1. He will do so. Ross looking to the inside, but the double O holds him off for now.
You can see here they're trying to get into single file pretty much as quickly as possible. Broomhead certainly taking a bit of a wider line through there, and you can see they're all falling in pretty tidily as well. A little bit side by side back there, but as I look through, I do see Richard Swindells has dropped back 4 places so far, but other than that, nothing too crazy so to speak of.
Pretty wide first corner for these cars. May not feel like that in a Formula car, but maybe a little bit more space in these F1600s at least, as they're able to make it through pretty cleanly. Those top 5 or 6 pretty single filed out. A little bit of peeking here and there in the midfield. You can see that top 3 has got a bit of a break as it's Broomhead leading Ross, leading to Buchanan, but a impressively clean start to this first F1600 to feature on the night. Only Matthew Muehlman is way out of touch with the group. He's at the very end of the field in P16 after he had some issues on the start of the race, actually going late for the field. Other than that, everybody off and away, and they're all chasing that man up front. It's your points leader, currently sitting in P1.
Certainly, Broomhead is leading a wicked conga line right now, as I can see a little bit of action back there. Looks like John Benvalid trying to make a pass as well. You saw Zach Buchanan just a moment ago having a little bit of a sniff, but Stuart Ross, he's coming up on the inside. Zach Buchanan's getting in there as well. Stuart Ross, a little bit of a flash there. 3 wide as they're going down the start-finish straight. Oh, this is going to be juicy in turn 1.
And with the nose in front, the advantage is to Buchanan, and the bright yellow entry, and the 40 car has got it. New race leader at the end of lap number 1 is Zach Buchanan. Following him through on the outside way around turn number 1 is Michael Broomhead, and Stuart Ross settles back into 3rd, but that big wake that these cars cast, especially on that long front straightaway, means if you can stay close to that car in front of you, you're going to have an option to make moves just like that all night long. Buchanan going to do everything he can to build a gap to prevent that slipstream as you go on board with the Ross in 3rd.
You see, the question is right now, is he going to get that opportunity to try and run away with it? You know, Stuart Ross is going to be keen to get into second on Broomhead, but you know what? He's a pretty smart cookie. I got a feeling he's going to be interested in playing the long game. We can see there that the start-finish given an absolutely ample drafting opportunity, and you know, it's still early going yet. We're only on lap 2. You know, there's still a lot to play for in this race.
And a long way to go in this one as they go through the back half of the course, and I am going to stick to corner numbers, Zippy. If you feel bold enough to go for the names, have at it. My time in the Netherlands has been limited. I've visited Amsterdam and Arnhem a couple times, but not enough to get the track corner names, I'll say. And distracted there is Broomhead. Rare mistake from the championship leader, put into the tires down by turn 11, and that's going to allow Stuart Ross to make the pass for P3.
We wonder maybe, you know, a little lapse of concentration there, but while he's hot on the draft to Stuart Ross, I think it is going to offer a little bit of forgiveness. You know, does potentially give Buchanan the chance to slip away, but you can see Buchanan, he's out on the inside of turn 1. This is proving to be a very popular passing spot right now. That one I will have a go at saying Tarzan Boscht. I mean, Tarzan Bocht for turn 1. It's probably the only one I'm going to give a go.
Yeah, that seems to match the vernacular. If you hear me, I'm going to say turn 1. Again, beautiful country. Enjoyed visiting there for some work. And because of that, I will not butcher the names and attempt to Americanize them. So I'm going to just go turn 1. But Bot sounds pretty accurate based on the spelling of them. But again, such a beautiful world-class circuit. And it is great to see this clean racing happening up front. Broomhead got that tire barrier a little bit, thought maybe with the exposed suspension on these cars, maybe it was going to have an issue for him, but he made that quick pass back on Ross, and he hasn't really left Ross, but certainly his attention's now up on the race leader, Buchanan, and Stuart Ross again playing catch-up, watching on from third, is got a little bit of the Michael Jordan energy there with his tongue sticking out when he's focusing.
Oh my gosh, I can't even comment. Like, I do the same, like I roll my tongue across my lip, and I'm secretly hoping that nobody's watching. But you can see here, we're on board with Stuart Ross, and Broomhead trying to have a little bit of a sniff. Buchanan quite aggressive across the curb there, and you can see the cars almost look like they're sliding, you know, definitely a little bit of slip angle going on. Ross he's back a little bit, but you know, realistically, he's like 3-4 tenths. It's absolutely peanuts. You see, Broomhead, he's there, he's on the beach. I mean, I didn't realize he was that much of a fan of Knight Rider, spending a little bit of time with the half, but it gives Stuart Ross an opportunity as he's going down the start finish straight, and he is past Broomhead.
Makes the move on Broomhead. Broomhead not settling though, looking to the inside, can't make the dive, and they will reset. Again, this is exactly what Zach Buchanan would like to see. The more engaged they are in this battle for second and third, the better chances that 40 car has of trying to pull away for the race lead. However, they've been using the draft off of one another and the draft off of the back of the 40 to not allow Buchanan to get away. But with 3 laps complete thus far, it's been the 40 who has led every single one of them. But now that Ross is shaking a Broomhead, does he force the issue, try to make the move on the leader? I feel like the complacency to sit P2 and wait is going to only invite that car from third to continue to make those moves. So we'll see, does Ross want to force the issue here, or does Broomhead end up getting back to him in another fight for second? This group is about 3 seconds ahead of the next closest car. Just there in the background, the blue and green entry of Hassan Nikhanbayev, your third feature race winner from 2 weeks ago.
He's definitely having a clean race so far. Nikhanbayev started 4th, he's in 4th. You know what? That's pretty tidy. I would certainly not be disappointed with that. But this battle at the front as well, you know, tactically, I'm not sure what the best strategy is right now, because at the end of the day, I don't think I'm going to risk it all, especially if I'm Broomhead. I'm leading the championship, and I'm definitely going to, you know, not try and give any races away. I'm going to try and use as much opportunity as I can. You know, if I was Broomhead right now, I think I would be trying to make like a last lap pass from third to second, potentially into first. You know, we saw them do it on lap 1 where they went 3 wide. I think I'd be playing the odds like that, because at the end of the day, he's still scoring big points.
And here comes the move. Stuart Ross to the outside of Buchanan, and he has got it. So lap 5 sees a new race leader. However, Buchanan all over the gearbox of the 67 of Ross. Ross did not score the lap led at the line. There are bonus point implications for laps led. Of course, he hopes to just win the race, and in order to do so, you've got to lead at least one of them. So not that he's too concerned with that, but for somebody like a Broomhead who's been up here for all of this, it would be really a blow for him to start on pole, be in contention the whole time, but not win the race and not even get the bonus point for leading a lap. So that's something that is in mind, maybe not at the forefront, but if this championship comes down to 3 or 4 points later on this year, might be thinking back on those opportunities right there. But again, as they continue to put a significant gap on the rest of the field, and something happened to Hassan Nakhanenbev because his name just dropped way off of the scoring pylon after having talked about how good his night had been in 4th. There he is. That car's on pit road. So Assad had some sort of a problem that took him out of P4.
Yeah, something's definitely gone wrong. Maybe we'll get a replay very shortly, but certainly the battle is still occurring further up the field. It looks like Ross has managed to break away. He's got half a second on Broomhead now. I'm wondering if Broomhead got a little bit of a little bit of damage earlier. There's potential is there, but certainly if I'm Stuart Ross, I'm going to try and run away as much as possible. I mean, let's have a quick look at the replay here. Let's see what happened to Nakhanenbev.
You'll see he was running in 4th. It was about 5 seconds behind the leaders. And I think what we'll see is Nakhanenbev was, I think, with a decent advantage over Matthew Murphy. Murphy was behind in 5th position. Behind there was John Benvalid in P6. So we'll see those 3 cars when we get that second look. And I think what it's going to show, my first thought is obviously they were racing pretty closely. What happens there is, is there going to be contact, wheel-to-wheel touch? I think it ended up being a self-inflicted error. I think Nakhanenbev just simply lost it. Here's a look, and back end gets a little bit loose, and there's just nowhere to go for that car next in line, and that was Matthew Murphy, who got collected, and then a third driver gets a little bit of damage, and all of that is skating through the middle was Benvalid and more. It was Ohayon who took the third touch. So a self-spin has wide-reaching consequences for Nakhanenbev and others.
Yeah, it looked like Ohayon, Lobin, and Nakhanenbev all got caught in that. And, it happens, but you can see here, looks like Broomhead is hot on the tails of Stuart Ross. That gap has come right down. Buchanan's certainly not letting him get away with it either. He's there very tightly in 3rd.
He has been able to get that lap lead as well for Ross, so that's an additional point in the back pocket. And now Broomhead trying to become the only driver of these 3 to lead a lap who has not yet done so. In contention, all 3 drivers with a good look at the race win. And man, if these 3 are this good all night long, we're going to be talking about 3 real exciting feature races all night long. You can see Ross kind of serpentining down that front stretch, trying to break the draft. Broomhead to get some speed, not enough for the lead. Buchanan, though, to the inside. What a dive by the 40, shuts off the counterattack by Broomhead. And just like that, Buchanan puts the yellow car back into second.
Certainly the action, it seems to be all happening at turn 1 at the minute, and it's definitely been a good race so far. A few people moving throughout the field, a few hard charges, but at the minute the hard charger I would say is actually the 27 car of Clovis Gerard. He's currently up 5 places, but as is James Carter in the 70 right behind him as well. So good racing being had, and we know where 3 of them cars came from. Ohayon, Nakhanenbev, and Lobin. I'm not too sure if they're out on track yet. I'd say probably not. They still appear to be in the pits, and understandably so. That last one's gotta hurt.
You can see all of the other battles going on as well, not just exclusive to those inside of the top 3. This group back here doing battle for 9th on back. James Carter, the lead car. The middle one is Nick Horvath, the blue car trailing James Doherty. Now on board Horvath, going to make a quick slide down and under the 7 of Carter. There's contact between those 2. It'll push Carter off and into the grass. He pulls it back on track. Horvath makes the pass in the end, as Doherty now going to pull up alongside Carter, who's not going away, and then a blown exit. Horvath completely missed the next corner, and he will lose both of those spots in the end.
Yeah, maybe it was like a unintentional, gentlemanly move to give back the position, but I do believe he probably would have got a slowdown for that as well. But he still seems to be staying with the pack for the minute. As you can see here, we've got another move being made. I believe that is Doherty. Doherty trying to make a move on Carter. He's just about got a nose ahead of it as they head down into turn 1. Tires are blocked.
Still side by side. Meanwhile, less than 1 lap to go in this race. First feature of 3 tonight from Zandvoort. Looking at the battle for what is 9th position on back, and now back up front to the battle inside of the top 3, as it is Stuart Ross has fallen out of the lead. It's a 2-horse race left. Buchanan's got the lead. Broomhead wants to take it away, and they're running out of time.
Certainly, looks like Ross had a little bit of an instant there. He dropped about 5 seconds back. You could just see him there. Thankfully, even though it's cost him the lead, he is still going to be on that top step. But that just opens it up for Broomhead and Buchanan to basically go, swords drawn, armors on. Let's go for the number 1 spot. Oh, huge slide from Broomhead.
Buchanan still the leader. Broomhead doesn't get the exit there he needs as he properly set himself up for the final couple of turns. Broomhead gonna look to get the draft and pull up to the back of race leader Zach Buchanan. Broomhead started on to pole, but he hasn't led a lap yet tonight. Does he have enough speed to get there? He will close to the gearbox, not in time to the stripe that time though, and they'll continue on. And I think that will be the end, even though there's still a minute on the clock. Checkered flag is out. And Zach Buchanan, good enough to hang on, leads 5 laps, gets the win. And even though Broomhead, P2, still going to score a lot of points, that is at least a chunk out of that championship lead that's taken away.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good, hard-fought battle for sure. I mean, it was definitely not given away. There was no freebies at all. But, what a great first race of the evening. Absolutely fantastic action. And pretty clean as well. There wasn't really any moves where we're what was that? It was good, clean, respectable racing.
Let's take a look back at what happened with Stuart Ross. We had mentioned it was a 3-way battle for the lead. He was the leader when we jump back to watch the contact behind, and just a bit of a wheel touch there gone awry. The 67 was under fire, and then that side-to-side contact spun him out. Now, he was able to recover and to finish in 3rd. You take a second look there. It's right rear to left front, Broomhead versus Ross. And Ross kept it out of the Armco barriers, was able to get back onto the racing surface, and finishes in 3rd. Could have been much, much worse, but still not what Ross feels like he deserved after being pretty good in that race.
Sure, but certainly it'll give us the opportunity to roast Broomhead a little bit later, potentially. But, how does second place feel after, giving Stuart Ross a shove?
So the clock will tick away in this one and wrap things up. So Zach Buchanan walking away with the race win is a good storyline, certainly, but in terms of the championship, Buchanan was 22 points behind Broomhead. He will make up some of that gap. And again, Ross in 3rd, who entered tonight 3rd in the championship. So it is notable that the top finishers in this race, all drivers from the top 4 in the points. Nikanabev, of course, dropped out of this one. That meant that 4th place went to John Benvalid with Mika Dorn into P5. And then you had, through the rest of the running order, P6 with Matthew Murphy, Richard Swindles, Clovis Gerard, Nick Horvath, and James Doherty. The top 10 with James Carter, Phil Amaro, Matthew Mielman, Assad Nikanabev, Cedric O'Hayan, and Graham Lobin through P16. And you can just kind of take a mental picture of that 16-car order, because that is the exact order at which we're going to line them up and do it all over again for feature race number 2. And with the race winning margin being a 10th of a second, that's not what I want to focus on. I want to talk about the gap zip back to P3. That was a 5+ second difference to Stuart Ross, who admittedly should have been there anyways. P4, John Benvalid, 9 seconds back. I don't know, based on how good those 3 were, if anybody can do anything with them in this second feature, especially when they have the benefit of all starting up front.
I mean, it's definitely a mixed bag. If Broomhead can just about get a nose in, then, I think it's going to slow him down going through turn 1. I mean, it will give the others a chance to, catch up. But once you lose the draft of the car ahead of you, they work together, you're really going to have a hard time keeping up. You've really got to have, absolutely top-level skills to try and catch up to a car without the draft in this series. You need the extra help. At least I do, anyway.
Clock ticks away, down to 0, looking for the green lights to start this second feature race of the afternoon. Barney the flagman stands ready at the helm. The green flag flies, and we're underway again, and it is a poor start for Buchanan. Here comes Broomhead to the inside and to the race lead in turn 1.
The more I looked at it, the more I'm thinking, P1 being on the left is probably not the best advantage, but Broomhead may actually get to lead the lap. He didn't get to do it in race 1, potentially race 2 will give him leading lap 1, but you can see there they're already trying to get into single file. Couple still 2 abreast wide, but, again, you got to try and stay with that draft. You can see there Lima Racing, John Benvelin having a bit of a crack, and Buchanan and Broomhead already starting to make a little bit of clearance behind them with about 0.6 of a second to go to Ross.
And that draft is so important that Stuart Ross knows that he can compete with these guys. He led 3 of the laps in the first feature race on the afternoon, but he cannot afford to be that next man up. He can't lead the second pack. He needs to stay in touch with the leaders. That is critical right now, holding a decent enough gap that John Benvelin behind in 4th and Matthew Murphy in 5th, unable to challenge him. That's going to be key, and a mistake there for Broomhead as he goes wide down through turn number 9 means that it's going to open up the door for Ross to pull alongside, and they'll fight for P2.
Not just that, Benvelin's right behind him, having a little bit of a look there. Matthew Murphy getting in the mix as well. Mika Dern, Nick Horvath, there's a whole train of cars, 1st to 7. One big pack, and then even then it's not a very big gap, and then you got another pack of cars. So, plenty of action happening here at Zandvoort.
And a long way to go. You can see some of the tire tracks off it in the sand as they rip through the banking and come off of turns 13 and 14 back to the front stretch, and maybe a moment of 3 wide in the battle for second. Instead, how about Matthew Murphy on the move to the bottom, but really shallow entry is going to give up the advantage to Ross topside. A couple of cars off and into the sand. It's a mistake there and an off track for Mika Dorn, who's going to lose some time. And back in that fight for second, Stuart Ross somehow still ends up in charge of that pack.
Yeah, I see the lockup in the the exit of the shot there. We'll perhaps get a little bit of a replay soon, but plenty of action happening in the top 5. That did spread him out a little bit. James Doherty's kind of dropped off from there. He's lost the pack, but 5 people fighting for that first position. Well, I'd say first position. Buchanan has absolutely run away. He's pulled a 1.2 second gap at this point. Absolutely doing what he can to make that space.
Good stuff. This lead group of about 4 cars separated by about 1.5 seconds. But what we're also looking at is a healthy advantage, I would call it, for Buchanan. Not enough to throw in the towel, but it is one of the bigger advantages we've seen for the race lead so far tonight at about 1 second. There's the onboard look with Matthew Murphy as he watches on from P4, trying to get up to Benvelin and Co. A bit of a wonky entry there means that the 53 of Murphy going to get a poor exit off the corner. He'll get passed up right there with Broomhead slipping around the outside.
The thing I'm really looking forward to, Evan, is we're going to see that the gap now is about 1.1 seconds as we're going to go down the back straight. I want to see where it is going into turn 1. I wonder if the gap has become too big for the draft to do anything. As you can see, these guys are doing a Mexican wave for the crowd, as they're kind of serenading, wiggling around for the audience, just trying to break that draft. Broomhead going, defending the inside line there, understandably so, but that gap stayed about the same. I think Buchanan may just be far enough that the draft isn't going to be a free pass for Stuart Ross.
Murphy and company again, all still trying to stay into it. One of the other unique characteristics of this racetrack is all of that banking, of course, that you've seen these drivers racing through, and it's especially evident when you go with those onboard cameras at both ends of the racetrack. There is a lot of not just elevation up, elevation down, but again, that racetrack is yawed inwards with a degree of banking that helps these cars carry speed through the corner and makes it an extremely fast circuit as well. That all leads in to why the draft and the toe is such a big factor in this race. Buchanan's advantage has been holding steady, no major mistakes out of the yellow 40 car up in front, so the best stuff stays for here, and a mistake there. Benvalid loose on entry, and that's a second spot gained for Broomhead in his mini laps.
It was definitely a tidy pass as well. You know, he just saw the little bit of opportunity and he just absolutely snuck that F1600 right in there. And you can see as well, quite aggressive on the curbs. You know, some of the drivers will take more curb than others. Myself, I'm actually, you know, quite conservative with the curbs in fear of upsetting the car. But the guys who are a lot quicker than me, so aggressive on it. I mean, the car's almost like pogo sticking off the thing, and they just managed to keep it controlled and keep it planted. But here we go now. He's going to get a good run potentially on Stuart Ross. I don't think he's going to quite have the stones to do it by turn 1, but 0.3 of a second, 0.35 of a second as we're going down the start finish. And as you can see here, gets to turn 1. Gap is closed down to just 0.2 of a second. He could probably be even closer. He's just holding back a little bit for now. You know, doesn't want to be too close to Ross to the point it causes an incident.
And of course, with Buchanan's feature race win earlier, becoming the first driver this season to get 3 race wins in this 2023-24 campaign, Broomhead knows that he can't let Buchanan keep racking those up, or the advantage he had over him at the championship entering tonight going to be just as good as gone. Oh, there's a mistake! Whoa. Broomhead sideways contact with Benvalid. They'll both go off and into the sand. They get back on track, but a huge error from the championship leader.
Definitely not what he had in mind. I'm wondering if they got a bent steering wheel, bent tire. Well, not the steering wheel bent, but the steering wheel, like, you know, misaligned because there's a tie rod in there. We'll have to see how he runs. I mean, I'm fully expecting there to be damage on those cars.
So what a turn of events. Broomhead slides to P7. Benvalid falls to 5th as a result. Here's the onboard look with the Broomhead, and tough to tell if there is any misalignment on that car, but it certainly doesn't look to be at 110% right now. The good news for him is he's not significantly down on speed, because right behind him is Nakatembev and many others. So he's going to have to try to fight through the issues with that car to make sure he doesn't lose even more spots.
Yeah, I definitely think there's damage on Broomhead's car. You can see that the wheel, like, sadly this one doesn't have like a little stripe at 12 o'clock, but I'd say he's like 11:30, so there's definitely been a little bit of alignment issue there. You can see there, that's Lima Racing there, that's got to be, I'm trying to work out which one it is. A Hyen, I think, is in the pit, so it must be, yeah, it's Benvalid. Benvalid trying to make a move there.
You know, Hyen had some issues earlier, so Benvalid trying to stay in this conversation. Got a little bit of damage as well in that exchange with the Broomhead, and they're going to go side by side again now with Broomhead through on the outside, makes the pass, so now it is Benvalid sliding down to 7. Broomhead stays P6, and maybe towed damage or not, Broomhead on the move. He's now going to put the pressure on Richard Swindell's. That one would be for P5 if he can get to him.
Definitely a good recovery opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they were sitting up. The podium was definitely, you know, it was there. But, you know, all things considered, I'd say they got off pretty lightly with what happened, considering the damage and the contact and stuff like that. To still only be like P6 and P7 and moving through the field, you know, I'd say it's actually been a really good recovery. As you can see here, Broomhead is absolutely... He's going through drivers like he's at a buffet.
And now, though, maybe a challenge behind them as under attack is the aforementioned entry of Benvalid, because through almost, I was going to say it was Nakatembev, but he was able to shake him off. Now Nakatembev going to go right back down to the inside. They fight right now for P7, and Assad has got the spot, so you can give that one to him. Now with the draft on the straightaway, what does Broomhead do in front of these two? He will go to the inside in the run down to turn number 1, and he is got the spot. Not clear by corner entry, but just enough to muscle his way through. Broomhead back inside of the top 5.
I'm actually wondering, because you see Benvalid is he's falling back through the field a little bit. Now, I'm wondering if he picked up some damage as well. You know, I'm just trying to get a little bit of a quick peek here, see if we can... his wheel appears to be straight. Oh, was that a little slight No, I think he seems to be okay, but then it wonders, is he going for the tactical move? Because obviously this is race 2, we've got race 3 coming up next, but that inverted grid as well. It was fighting to control the car there. Maybe he does have damage and he's just controlling it really well, but certainly even with the draft, he's dropping back off Nicardenbad a little bit. I do think he is carrying some repairs required, but on the flip side as well, if he can keep it in the top 10, which is looking pretty promising right now, he's going to be way set for race 3.
That is that additional point. We referenced it earlier, the invert, that third race, which has prevented the sweeps, the shutouts, the perfect games of the world, if you will, with nobody able to do that so far this season. That is the great equalizer and may benefit somebody like a Broomhead who is slightly on the back foot. Hard to believe that, you finished second in the first feature. Right now, you're sitting P5. Those are some pretty darn good results. And we're talking about, an average finish of 3.5. Yeah, you're on the back foot. That's how tight, though, this championship is. And another battle is due up. Broomhead now to the inside of Doherty. Can he get back to the top 4? He's got the spot at the line, and he is clear to turn 1. So Broomhead scratching and clawing his way back through the field to impressive P4.
Definitely a good recovery, but my eyes right now are on Buchanan and Ross. That gap was about a second earlier, and I don't know what magic Ross has pulled out of the bag, or if Buchanan's had like a little bit of an incident there, just a little bit of a minor detour perhaps, but Ross has closed that gap down to under 0.2 of a second now, and he is hot on that fuselage of Zach Buchanan.
It is a 2-horse race, 5 seconds back to Matthew Murphy in third spot. Murphy likely out of reach for the charging Broomhead, who may have peaked at that number 4 spot in terms of his recovery. And now these two get to fight it out amongst themselves. They'll be coming to the white flag, I think, the next time by, and then they'll be able to settle it out amongst the two of them. So Stuart Ross trying to challenge Zach Buchanan. Buchanan won the first. Can he get a second in a row? When you look back at what has happened so far this year, only one driver has won back-to-back features, and it was Zach Buchanan. That one happened back at the Chicago Street Course, looking to continue to add to the win column.
Well, it's definitely interesting as well, because Buchanan also drives in the BIS Radical Championship as well, and certainly, he's a very capable driver, but right now he's going to have to use those skills to defend Stuart Ross. Now, Ross has the advantage here. He was here for season 1, and he did really good, but oh my gosh, he's through. He's made it on turn 1, at least for now, on the white flag lap. Was it the best move to do it at turn 1? Is Buchanan going to get a chance to strike back and get ahead before the start-finish line?
Less than a lap to go. You're on board with Stuart Ross, who now finds himself playing defense. Buchanan going to be the challenger late in this one, and you can tell Ross not necessarily all too calm. I think I'd look a little bit more stressed, but those wheel inputs are aggressive, they're precise, they're specific. Tongues out again, a little bit of counter correction there. He knows the battle is on. Buchanan's on the gearbox. If you're the 40, can you afford to wait till that front stretch, use the draft to make the run to the stripe, or does that pass have to happen sooner so you have the lead at that point in the lap?
You say that, it's something I was thinking about earlier, Evan. I don't think the start-finish has quite got the draft. There's like the space to quite get it done, and if you are, you're going to have to be right on the nose, and he's doing that right now. He's only about 1/10 of a second behind him, making a little bit of a move there. He's through, but is it going to be enough? You see Ross fighting back straight away, a little bit of over-under action, but Buchanan pulls away about, briefly, 4/10, but Ross hot back on the field. You can see there, Buchanan defending the inside line at first, making that car as wide as possible, and I believe this is the final turn. Ross is going to get a run on him, and it's certainly going to be a good run. Yes, it is. Side by side, it's going to be a photo finish, ladies and gentlemen. Get the stopwatch out and the measuring tape.
And Zach Buchanan knew it on the exit of the corner. Radioed up and said, you got me. He thought that he had the position he needed, but Stuart Ross was able to carry the momentum through the final corner, and on the outside, Stuart Ross takes home his second win so far in this championship. You got to look back to the second race of the season back at Road Atlanta, and Ross is back in, and you can see the sigh of relief And Stuart Ross is able to shake Buchanan. That is 2 back-to-back really good finishes in this championship so far tonight. Great piece of driving between those two drivers, and we'll let the clock wind down for the rest of the field to come to the start-finish line. I think only James Carter towards the rear still to cross the stripe. No other major battles to talk about.
Oh, it's definitely an absolutely phenomenal race. And, Stuart Ross, he definitely earned that one. There was no freebies, no courtesy. And it was a good, clean race. You can see that James Carter waves the crown at leisure. But I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to Lima Racing very quickly. They don't, they're not compelled to do this, but they keep hosting these extra practice sessions. And you know what, you can see it, they can see that these guys have been putting time in the car. But certainly as a BIS, league admin as well, myself, I want to say thank you for that. And, thank you for supporting the league and, giving more people an opportunity to get out and drive, and, it's not something that they have to do, it's something they choose to do. And I just want to show a little bit of appreciation for it.
And certainly that track time is coming into handy now that the checkered flag is all the way out and all the drivers have crossed the stripe. We can talk official results from race number 2 here in Zandvoort. The final margin of victory, 0.058 seconds. Stuart Ross over Zach Buchanan. 5.6 then back to Matthew Murphy in third, who scores his first podium of the afternoon. And it was an impressive bounce back for Michael Broomhead. Despite the spin and contact, is able to finish in P4. That's not great in terms of the championship, but it's better than it could have been. And he's right there ahead of his teammate, James Doherty, in the number 5 spot. Richard Swindells comes home P6. Asanda Kottenbev in 7th. John Benvalid in 8th. Nick Horvath in 9th. And rounding out your top 10 is Mika Dorn.
In 11th place, we have Graham Lobban with Phil Amaro in 12th. Clovis Gerard there in 13th with James Carter in 14th. And then, sadly, as much as I appreciate Lima Racing supporting the league, 15th and 16th for Cedric O'Hayan and Matthew Mailman. Hopefully a bit of a better result for them in race 3. But certainly, as we see going into race 3 as well, right into the main feature, who's going to be your person to watch there, Evan? Who's your hot shot driver you think may give us an interesting result?
I know it's the low-hanging fruit, but I really think it is Broomhead for a couple of reasons. One, that championship gap was thin enough coming into tonight, and he has now been outscored on the racetrack by Ross, by Buchanan, in at least one, if not both of these races, especially when you refer to Buchanan, who won the first and got second. So that's a lot of points maximization. I don't even know if that's a word, right? But they've just been getting every little bit out of these. And if you're chipping off 3 here, 4 there, 5 there, we just talked about the fact that Broomhead took the championship lead headed into this week. He may leave this round not in the championship lead. So I know it is the easy story, the championship, always the focus in terms of that driver's title. But I think especially because the way tonight has gone, how Broomhead responds is going to be a big story.
Absolutely, but let's take a quick look at some of our sponsors there. We've got a new sponsor on board. They've been with us for a little bit now. It is Motor Racing Checklist 2.0. Now, that is actually brought to us by Suelio Almeidas, and he actually runs in the BiS Radical Cup series. And you know what's even better about that? He is leading that series. So, you know what? It's not just, this guy writes a book, makes a course, you can see the results. The guy is doing absolutely fantastic in our Radical series. So, Motor Racing Checklist 2.0. You can get a book, you can get a course. Looks like really good quality material.
It really is. Happy to have them on board with us. Of course, long-standing partner, our friends at Turn 1 Sim Racing as well, where champions are born, a big part of bringing this to us. You can go to race with them. And then the one thing that we always plug every single week is, we can get the QR code up, is you can get in on the action as well and race with us here on these Wednesday evenings. Get in on the action, scan the QR code, and join the BiS Discord. There's F1600 action, there's Radicals action. It all goes down here on Podiums every Wednesday night. But I know, Zibby, you can speak to that as well for drivers who want to get involved and not only join us by tuning into these broadcasts, but find themselves out on the racetrack as well.
Well, we're going to get into it a little bit more later, but there is another BIS series coming this spring as well. We're going to talk to Mike Broomhead a bit later about that. We'll probably save him for one of the final interviews, roast him a little bit as well. But we'll get more into that later as we're getting ready shortly for race number 3. This is your final race of the night, and it does have that inverse top 10 grid as well, so that extra bit of spice to life.
That's going to be the big storyline, is the fastest cars of the night are going to be midfield. They've won at least the top 2, right? Side-by-side finish to the line. They beat P3 Matthew Murphy by 5.6 seconds. They look back to race number 1. Stuart Ross spun, but he counts. They beat him by 5.3 seconds when he was back there. So there is a significant gap between the fast and the fastest. And those fastest cars are going to be right in the Hornets' nest. They have not dealt with that tonight. They've all started on the podium spots, been on the front few rows, not had to deal with traffic. They're going to have to deal with something they have not dealt with yet tonight. Will that be enough of a factor to impact their ability to get up front early and fight for the championship? The only way to find out is to watch, because the warm-up session clock ticks down to 2, 1, and 0, and we are ready to go racing for tonight's third and final feature race on the afternoon. So let's go trackside, take one more look at your starting grid for this BiS Formula 1600 Championship Series. And again, courtesy of the P10 finish in that second feature, Mika Dorn gets inverted to pole, and it will start up front with Nick Horvath alongside in second. John Benvalid has had a lot of speed tonight. He is going to be a big factor in this one. With a poor result means he gets flipped to third, and will start alongside the 23 of Assad Nakatembev. Richard Swindells will start P5 tonight. He's been a top 10 car all night long. And James Doherty has improved through both features thus far. He'll be P6. And then the aforementioned championship leader into tonight, Michael Broomhead. Shutout so far. Can he make some noise from P7? He'll have Matthew Murphy next to him in P8. And then your 2 winners so far. Buchanan won the first race. He starts in 9th. Ross won the second. He'll start and round out your top 10.
And on row 6 of the grid, if we have a look in P11, we have Graham Lovin. Next to him, Phil Amaro in P12. Have a look at row 7 now. P13, we got Clovis Gerard, and we got James Carter next to him as well. We really have young versus old in this scenario. Row 8. See busy roasting James. We got Cedric O'Hine, Lima Racing, and Matthew Mayo. Lima Racing together, and that closes out the final grid.
Need to look top to bottom at your full starting order as we get set to turn the lights green one final time tonight for round 4 of the championship. Let's go racing from Zandvoort. Off and away. Not a good start for Mika Dorn. Here comes Horvath to the inside for the race lead.
Oh, an absolutely fantastic pass there, and you can see there, John Benvalid, he is up in second, 3-4 wide behind us, but come on, Benvalid, you know, he's still got a chance, you know, he definitely put the time in, he's practiced, and can he capitalize on that like time investment? As you can see here, he's absolutely pedal to the metal, trying to get away with Horvath.
The sun was peeking out from the clouds for just a moment. Back to cloud cover. We'll see if that has any impact in terms of track temp over the course of this race. But it's Horvath leading to Benvalid, leading Dorn, who's the next car up in this big pack from that red and black number 63 machine on back. Is just a huge collective. Couple of cars side by side towards the back. That bright yellow is that 40 car is Zach Buchanan. Watch him as he tries to get through the field.
Looked like Stuart Ross was potentially getting passed by Richard Swindells as well, but my eyes are on this guy. It's Assad Nakatembev. I think he's got potential to do well here in race 3. You know, certainly we know he's a capable driver. He's just got to keep the car in check, keep the tyres in check, and I think he's going to be in for a good shot.
A lot of side-by-side, a mistake from, I think that might have been Murphy, who was off into the grass. No, it was Broomhead who made the error, and the 00 car going to lose some ground. And courtesy of that mistake, he slips back to P7, now right ahead of Zach Buchanan and Stuart Ross. So your big 3 from that exciting battle for the race lead into feature race number 1. They are fighting to 4 position, but right now it's only good enough for 7, 8, and 9. At the end of one lap, they have not been able to make their way through the field, as in front of them, a challenge comes, and it might have been a touch there as a missed corner entry on the outside. That might have been Doherty, who shoved the car wide. He leads this group now in the battle for what is P7.
Oh, there's a lot of action going on there. Look, there's a little bit of a lock-up.
Oh, no, it's Ross! Again, the championship leader in his second spin of the night, and he is hung up there, stuck and trying to get back rolling. That was Richard Swindles. When it rains, it pours, and Michael Broomhead, despite all the speed, is going to look back on this weekend and shake his head.
Oh, I feel so bad, you know, like encouraging the rest of the drivers to just try and get a piece of him now. But you know, in all fairness, Broomhead has been a really good driver. Certainly, the result wouldn't reflect it as we sit right now, currently in 16th place. But you know, as I look through the field, Buchanan's doing pretty good. He's all the way up to 5th. He's currently, he's not a hard charger, but he's certainly 3rd place hard charger. A hard charger right now, actually, Cedric O'Hallion, he is up in 9th place from, I believe, 16th, if my memory is correct.
Doing a good job of working his way through the field, as where you watch the battle with the Lima entry there in the midfield part of the racetrack, as a couple of cars missing the corner exit just a little bit further up the road. So these cars doing everything they can to get in line, stay in the battle, but good action throughout the field. We'll come to the end of lap number 2 with Nick Horvath still up front in his race lead, almost an entire second over Hassan Nikanabev at a P2. 3rd is Ben Valid. There's a fight there as we continue to watch it. Thought maybe Ben Valid was going to get under Nikanabev, couldn't do it. Dorn, Buchanan, and Murphy all watching on.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's going to be a little bit of action here to go. Bentley generally quite a safe driver. He's not one for taking too many high risks, but I think he's going to have to start putting his nose in a little bit more, because it's not going to be long. And certainly Mika Dern and Zach Buchanan, they're right behind him. Matthew Murphy as well. You know, you either have to pass or be passed in this scenario, and you can see there Dern making a little bit of a sniff up on the inside. Oh no, not again! The Cardenbev spins!
This time it comes from your P2 driver. Assad went wide and he just could not reel the 23 back in, and he was having his best race so far of the night, and he will slide from 2nd down to P7.
I'm so disappointed for the guy. You know, he was doing so well, but like I said, you know, you just got to keep control of the tyres. It does take a couple of laps for these to get up to temperature, and even though, you know, it's not like a complete slick, it does still need to, you know, kind of bed in, get comfortable.
Hasn't been a huge storyline, the lack of grip, the slipping, the sliding, as it has been maybe in other weeks, but I would say there's probably been more incidents, Zippy, like that, where it's just a single car losing traction than it has been car-to-car contact this afternoon.
I do find some tracks are worse for it than others. You can see Buchanan has made a move into 2nd place, but I don't know if Benville is going to be quite done with that yet. He's going to get the draft going all the way down the start-finish straight. Potentially, can he make a move going into turn 1? I mean, was it almost like a planned pass to try and, you know, fight it back at the end of the straight? Because if that was the plan, I'm not sure if it's worked. I mean, he's not quite there. He's there in 3rd, but, you know, this gives Buchanan the chance to just try and edge away and potentially take a chunk out of Horvath.
A lot still to be decided, as we're going to be 4 laps down and 4 laps to go in this 3rd and final feature race this next time by. Continuing to watch the battle for what is 2nd spot on back. Horvath is gone. 2 seconds over the next closest driver. I don't know if anybody's going to get to the 382 without some help. A bit of a slide there for Ben Valid. Looking but not striking was Mika Dorn, the 64, though, that red and black car. Eager to find an opening on the 08, maybe because Matthew Murphy just as eager behind him to make the move. The 53, very aggressive as well.
Oh, they're definitely, you know, Mika Dern is basically the meat in this sandwich right now. You know, he's trying to chase down Beverly, but he's got Matthew Murphy right behind him as well as we ride on board with him here. You know, he's getting a good slipstream, but if you look right behind him as well, you know, it's the same kind of gap straight behind him to Matthew Murphy. There's just no room for forgiveness. You can see there Beverly using a good good portion of the track without quite dipping his toe in the water. Buchanan pulling away slightly, got that gap up to 8 tenths, almost 9 tenths per second. You can see there, he also takes a little bit of a visit to the beach as well. But Dern right on him. I think we're going to see a move going into turn 1. You can see Benblade giving it a little bit of a weave.
Sitting, looking, can't make the move because Matthew Murphy beat him to the punch, and Murphy gonna go for the 2-for-1 special around Dorn and around Benvalid. What a pass by Matthew Murphy.
Oh, absolutely fantastic pass, and you can see Benvalid had a little bit more exit speed, but Murphy's car was right in front of him. He had nowhere to go. Absolutely fantastic drive, but for me that was the pass of the evening so far.
Impressive stuff. Will it finish in a P3 for Matthew Murphy? Or is this not done yet because Mika Dorn back on the gearbox? Benvalid wants revenge after he got scooped not once but twice. He watches on, third car in this pack, P5 on the racetrack. The car trailing them is James Doherty. Not really a factor in this battle. His blue car, there he is, about 2 seconds off.
That move reminds me of a race I did. It's actually, I think, one of the first ever broadcast races I was in, consciously anyway, and it was GT3's Spa, and there was these pair fighting, and they go through a rouge, and they're fighting, and then they go out of it, they're fighting again, and then they see me, just goes and absolutely takes the drive from both of them, blasts it by, no! Benvalid spins!
Around goes the 08 car off it into the sand. And again, felt himself losing and just overdrove the corner entry, missed his brake marker, and then he locked that thing up, went off it into the sand, did not collect anybody else, but Benvalid, who was third at the stripe, is going to find himself P9 as he gets back onto the racetrack. And again, there it was. He just gained so much ground on entry, clearly braked a little bit late, and I think in order to avoid simply running over the cars in front of him, had to lock it up, and it put him off it into the grass, and look at all those other race car drivers drive on by.
It was good news for Nicarlan Bev, at least. He's now back up to 6th place, but definitely not what you had in mind. Buchanan there in 2nd place. You can see there he's going to close that gap on Horvath down to just 4 tenths of a second, but you can see there he is. There, lovely. And 3 temps, 4 temps. It's flickering a little bit. Horvath must feel like a sitting duck right now, or potentially a deer at the beginning of hunting season that is not wearing an orange jacket. He has got Buchanan pointing the rifle of an F1600 right at his helmet.
2 laps to go the next time by. How many dominoes are left to fall in this third and final feature on the night? Horvath goes wide. Here comes Zach Buchanan, who has broken his way back inside of the top 2 after starting in 9th. Can't get it, though. That was an impressive recovery for Nick Horvath, who fends him off, stays in 2nd for the moment. Murphy's done a good job of getting up through the field. He's 3rd. Mika Dorn sliding back to P4, but Stuart Ross will not be a factor in this one. After winning the 2nd race of the afternoon, he's way back into P12. So what can the 40 car do? Looking down to the outside in this challenge for the race lead, he's been able to get all the way to Zach Buchanan. They're nose to nose at 2 to go.
Certainly, I get to try and defend the inside line, and it's definitely paid off, but you want to try and force your opponent out a little bit as wide as you can. Don't give him as much freedom, as much space, and you can see here it seems to be working for him at the minute. He's managing to get the inside line. Cool, cut right off there, getting onto the line. I mean, it was legit, but it was tight. And you can see that absolutely grasping at straws, trying to hold on, and all power to him. He's doing a fantastic job so far.
It's a good job so far, and after we thought Horvath had checked out, Buchanan was able to wade the storm, get through the field, and after a 1st and a 2nd, is looking for a 2nd checkered flag on the night. He has not finished worse than where he sits right now. Was able to chase in and eliminate the 2-second advantage that Nick Horvath had on everybody else. Getting to somebody is one thing, completing the pass is another, and to your point, Horvath has gone for the defensive line in terms of protecting the line he wants to be in, not really forcing the 40 car into position, but it has worked so far. How long can it, though, with a lap and a half remaining? In fact, they'll be coming to the white flag here after this sector of corners.
Certainly, I take the same kind of thing. I've never been the fastest at turning a lap, but when it comes to defensive driving, you'd be surprised just how wide I can get a car. And Horvath is currently a man after my own heart. He is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Now, the thing is with defensive driving, when you get to a long straight section such as this, you pretty much a sitting duck. You can see that he's really hugging that inside line, but you almost want to try and force Buchanan left a little bit, make him take an even wider line. And, you just got to do what you can do, but he's still managing to hold it up in front. And certainly as he swings out, we're going to see if Buchanan can just go and swing it in. Probably not, because they got a left-hander right there. It's an absolute, I almost thought that was contact there as well.
They have been awfully close all battle long, and it is far from over. There is some traffic up the road, should not be a factor. I don't think they're going to get there in time. It'll be a battle between these two, and I think much like we saw in feature race number 2, this is likely going to come down to the final corner. Last race, Buchanan lost it in the final turn. Can he win it this time?
He's putting in a good effort. I'm not going to argue with him there, and I think these two are having a really good race. As I look through the timing screen, it is the closest action we have happening right now, and I'm not going to disagree. A battle for the lead for the final race. You see a little bit of a slide there from Horvath, but fantastic action. Is this going to be the chance? Buchanan's there. He's on the inside. They must be side by side at this point. They are, but going into the next corner, who has that inside line? I'm going to say it's probably Horvath.
I think as this flips over, Horvath going to have the advantage as they head to the tightest set of corners on track. Right hand, turn 11. Left hand, turn 12. Here comes the challenge again by Buchanan. And now 2 sets of right-hand corners, 13 and 14. Horvath gets clear. Final turn, and then they'll point and shoot towards the stripe. Here comes the run from Zach Buchanan to the outside of Horvath. Side by side on the front stretch, and around the outside, he's got him. Just enough up top for Zach Buchanan to steal the win from Nick Horvath.
I feel bad for Horvath. He drove fantastically, but well played by Buchanan. Absolutely fantastic driving tonight as well. Matthew Murphy up 5 spots as well to get the 3rd position. I'm not surprised he's doing donuts. I don't blame him. You deserve a whole pack with a performance like that. Absolutely fantastic driving.
And the draft giveth, the draft taketh. He lost a race with that same move, where it was the aforementioned Stuart Ross making the pass up top. And I wonder if Zach took a note or two, because then he went on to win that very next race in the same fashion. What a night for Buchanan. You talk about what the context is in this championship. He entered tonight 4th, and he gets a 1st, a 2nd, and a 1st. Almost perfection, and he's going to be right back into this championship conversation.
It's definitely it's thrown a cat amongst the pigeons, and I'm looking forward to talking to him very soon. Well, one of us will talk to him very soon. It's going to be an interesting discussion indeed. But it just goes to show that to be successful in it's not just one race we're doing here. We've got several. We've got 3 races, and then it's a season as well. You have to deliver constantly. You can't just be like a one-hit wonder, or have your princess-approved track such as myself. And I've got to say, Buchanan's been absolutely phenomenal in this. Don't get me wrong, he's no slouch in the radicals, but it's such a different car as well in comparison that, it's absolutely fantastic to see. And, at the minute, he is the guy to watch for the championship.
He's no stranger to big moments on the sim. He's won at iRacing Daytona 24. He's won 2 at the iRacing Bathurst 1000s. And he is continuing to rack up race wins here on Wednesday nights in the BiS Formula 1600 Championship Series. He is the first driver to 4 race wins on the season. I believe all the drivers have made it to the checkered flag, so let's take a look at your full race results for that 3rd and final feature on the night. And the closest finish maybe all year at 33 1/1000ths of a second. Buchanan beats Horvath in the run to the line, with Matthew Murphy coming home in third. We will talk with those three gentlemen in just a few moments. James Doherty and Assad Nakhanenbev round out some good results. A good bounce back for Assad after he had a mistake. John Benvalid will get P6. Clovis Gerard, a quiet P7. Cedric O'Hyan in 8th position. Mika Doran slips from pole to P9. And then Stuart Ross, who won that second race of the afternoon, just could not get going in this third and final one, and he finishes back in P10.
In 11th, we have Graham Lobman with Phil Amara behind him in 12th. Hero is 0, sadly, for Broomhead. He is in 13th with Atomic Racing of James Carter and Richard Swindells in 14th and 15th with Matthew Mailman. Sadly, I don't think Zandvoort was one of his stronger tracks, and I understand I don't think I've ever managed to drive here yet, you know. Sadly, he was there in 16th as well.
Let's look top to bottom at all of your race results tonight, and just taking a look at who we have standing by. I don't think we've got Zach Buchanan quite yet, but it looks like Nick Horvath may be available, who comes home in second place in this one. Zippy, so I'll toss things off to you and get a chat with Nick, who almost had that win there, but in the end has to deal with P2.
Nick! Oh, what a race that was. I mean, absolutely, I've got to say, you're driving a race similar to my own heart on that one. You know, the defensive moves was absolutely fantastic. Just talk us through a little bit what was going through your mind when you're trying to defend from Zach Buchanan.
I mean, I know Zach is fast as hell. I mean, just watching the laps, as long as I could keep it within a tenth or so of him, I felt like I could maybe squeak it out into the last 2 laps. But really, I kind of figured out whereabouts he was stronger than me and just set up on the inside every single time I saw him in the review. It was a lot of mirror driving, and it was a hell of a fight. I kept him behind as long as I possibly could, and really, I think I probably could have done that last corner better, but it can't really argue with how close that was. It was a fantastic race.
Certainly, from where we were sat, it was absolutely phenomenal racing. Like, I take my hat off to you as well. Like myself, I've never been so good at doing like an outright fast lap, and then trying to defend is something I've always preferred. So, you know, you won my applause on that one 100%. I'm so proud of you. I mean, I felt so bad as you went across the start finish, but my condolences on second, but also congratulations on second as well. I mean, is there anybody you want to thank?
Definitely going to thank the guys at Britannia, Mike especially, for putting this whole thing on. All the guys at Lead Paw Racing, I know they support me so much, and racing with them is always a treat. All the sponsors, man, I'm still kind of getting through it, but it was just that part back at the line. Great race.
There we go. It sounds like, you know, some people drink coffee, some people, you know, that's what they drink tea. But another way, if you want to stay awake, have a race just like that. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Nick Horvath, your P2 finisher for race number 3.
And we'll continue things on. I think the burnouts are done. The celebration is on. But we'll get a word now with the driver of the number 40 machine, Zach Buchanan, who has really a stellar night tonight across all 3 of these races. But we'll talk to him first about that third and final one. Zach, congratulations. We'll get into the details. We'll talk tonight in a minute. But first, you lose a race win opportunity in the final turn in that second race, and then you win one in the exact same fashion in that third. Just tell us about those moments.
Yeah, that was quite something. I don't think I've ever had that happen before, where like it happens to me one race and I get advantage of it in the next race. I don't know. It was the theme for me tonight was I feel like I did everything just about as good as I could have done, picked my moves in the right spots, and I thought I had sealed the deal in that second race, but Stewart got just about the best run you could ask for. And then I got the same thing in the next race.
Seemed like early in this race, I guess we'll go back to the first race. You know, it's you, it's Stewart, it's Michael fighting. But it's been a trend all year that drivers have not been able to either overcome the invert or avoid bad luck, whatever it is, be in contention in all 3. And even in this third and final one, you look back and Michael had a spin. He finishes in 13th position. Stuart Ross has some issues. He's P10. For you to get a first, a second, and a first and have that kind of consistency, what goes into putting together a night like that?
I guess in this case, it's just a comfort level thing. I mean, Donington, for example, last week, never been my best track, but Zandvoort, especially since we got the new one, it's been one I've been very comfortable at. Not my best in outright speed, but like I feel like I know when to make what moves where, and I feel like that kept me out of trouble and kept me in contention.
You're starting to rack up these race wins now. A couple of them at the Chicago Street Course, 2 here tonight. The first driver to 4 wins on the season. You were chasing Michael in the championship headed into tonight. That likely to be even closer, if not in your favor. So as we're now past 4 races and only 2 points championship races left coming up, you're right in the thick of things. How do you continue to keep that up and fight for this title?
I guess I'll just keep doing the same as before. I think the big key with these races is to stay out of trouble. I mean, tonight, I think, except for that last race, was pretty clean from everyone. I think it was a really good close race from everyone, but definitely staying out of trouble is what gets you up front. And Phillip Island, which is our next track, is a track I'm also quite comfortable at, so I'm quite looking forward to that as well.
From the rest of the field, I'm not a fan of hearing that one. We'll get you out of here, Zach, and enjoy this one. Before we do that, we'll give you the chance, as always. Anybody want to say hi to while we've got you?
Tonight, big shout out to Michael, to Stuart, to Nick. Really great racing tonight. It was one of the most fun race nights I've had in a long time, maybe ever. So it was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
We enjoyed it equally as much up here from the booth perspective. Zach, again, congratulations on the 2 wins tonight, and we'll catch you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys. See you then.
He's the big winner tonight from Zandvoort. 2 race wins for Zach Buchanan. He tallies now 4 on the season. Big night in the points for the 40. We'll toss things back down over to you, Zippy. Matthew Murphy capitalized on the night. He got 2 P3s to end this one. You're down with him.
Oh, man, you must be absolutely thrilled with an evening like that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Honestly, I don't get much time to race. I just enjoy dropping into the series. The racing's great. I think I got lucky. I inherited the P3s for the most part, and then towards the end of it, I was out of the draft and kind of running around by myself. But yeah.
You know what? As things go, inheriting 2 P3s, that is definitely a good tactic. And I wouldn't brush it off so lightly. To do that, you've got to drive clean, and certainly it adds for some of the fun racing. But how do you feel about the next track of Phillip Island?
Honestly, I've maybe driven that track like 4 or 5 times, and in like an open practice, man, when the series are racing there, I don't do much. So we'll see. I'll jump in. I'll try and learn the track here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see. I'm really looking forward to Bathurst. I've done great there in the last few for several series. So, but I'm sure there's drivers that have run the 12 hours or the 1,000 race.
Bathurst can be a demanding trek indeed, but certainly that one isn't going to be the King of the Mountain round. It's not going to be a point scored event, but certainly some good points for you tonight. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, Reboot Racing, Camus, they excellent. Yeah, it's good. Looking forward to the rest of the series. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Matt Murphy. He is your 3rd place finisher in the main race tonight, and also 3rd in the second race as well. But we do have Mike Broomhead standing by, and we're bringing him in because he is a league organizer. He is the guy who puts all the hard work into getting the BiS F1600 running, and every now and again he puts it on the podium as well. Mike, I understand you've got another series to tell us about. I kind of teased the viewers with it earlier, but I'll let you drop the bombshell on that one.
I believe you're talking about IndyCar. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, it's the IndyCar League. Obviously, with IndyCar returning to iRacing, we really wanted the main focus. Actually, we thought, let's do an Indy 500. That'd be amazing. And we thought, you know what, an IndyCar League might be fantastic. There's a lot of people that like it. It's a really drivable car. We'll implement some of our concepts and try to keep things going. But usually numbers are a little less during the summer, so we're looking at what to run, and we think that IndyCar might be a good one. So. We've got the Discord link. If you come and join us on Discord, then come and see what the series is all about. Yeah, but thanks, guys. Yeah, it's going to be fun, and we've still got a long way to go for the rest of the leagues here.
It also wasn't a bad night for you to start here tonight, Michael. I mean, you had a ton of speed, started on a pole, a P2 in that first race, and then obviously the night didn't go the way you had hoped from that point on. Just kind of talk to us about that. I assume it's pretty frustrating given how good you looked out of the gate.
Yeah, always blame your equipment. Blame your equipment 100% of the time. My team didn't put together a good car at all. The car's terrible. So I just grip was low. I struggled a lot, especially in the last section there. I was drifting all over the place. I just didn't have the confidence that I had in practice and qualifying, and it's a bit disappointing because I was quite comfortable. I was just doing laps to get rhythm down in practice rather than trying to go faster. So come the races, it started off okay and then progressively got worse, and I hit too many people to be happy about. So sorry everybody. We go again next time though.
What's your outlook for the next couple of races here in the F1600s? Obviously everyone's excited for Bathurst, and then you've got a championship to fight for with the last 2 points races at Phillip Island and then back to Mosport.
Yeah, two tracks that I really like. I mentioned before, my style is very long corner, long fast track sort of thing, and Phillip Island and Mosport are like that. But yeah, and the next one, I think it's the next one, we got Bathurst, and anybody who honestly wants to come out, join the Discord because it's open. It's open to anybody. You don't have to be in the league. Just come out, have some fun for this same format, see how you like it. It's open iRating as well, so we can have anybody. I'm sure Alex Ellis will join in at some point. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's kind of what this is all about. At the end of the day, we aren't pro racers, not all of us anyway. This is an AM league, so we come and enjoy ourselves. And these races were exactly on par with what we aim to do.
We know you're a busy man. We'll let you get to it, Mike, but we appreciate you putting all this on and giving us a moment to chat, and we'll see what you got again in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for putting this on. Thanks for having me.
Mike Broomhead, who had a really good car tonight, and I know the result sheet won't show for it, but looking forward to seeing how he competes with the Buchanans of the world and others. Zippy, we've been talking about that all night long and how that championship battle has developed, and the championship talk will take a pause the next time we are back on track. Of course, it is still at front of mind with only 2 races left to go in the championship, but next time out, it is another one of our non-point specials, King of the Mountain at Bathurst. That one in 2 weeks' time on February the 7th.
Oh, that's going to be an absolute hoot, Evan. I think it's going to be total carnage as they go over the hill, and I'm looking forward to it.
And we're looking forward to hoping that you all join us here for that one as well. Of course, that next race is going to be non-points in terms of the championship, but you are still going to want to come out and see the best of the best from this BiS F1600 Championship Series. Again, that's in a couple of weeks' time on February the 7th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Starts, as always, right here on Podium. One more big shout out to all of the partners who make these broadcasts possible, to our friends at the Motor Racing Checklist 2.0.com. And again, that is a special shout out as well to Suello, who makes all of that possible. He drives over in the Radical Cup side of things and is leading the points over here. That's his Motor Racing Checklist. We appreciate his continued support. And then as well for our friends over at Turn 1 Sim Racing, where champions are born. Until next time, that is it for us here tonight from the Netherlands. On behalf of our entire team at Podium and for your broadcast crew tonight, for our producer downstairs, Christian Hill, for Daniel Salmon and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you all for tuning in and congratulate tonight's race winners. It's Zach Buchanan ×2 and Stuart Ross, who made big gains in the championship. We're back again in 2 weeks' time for a non-points fun event at the King of the Mountain at Bathurst on February the 7th. That race and every race of the BiS F1600 Championship Series is exclusively here on Podium. Until next time, good night from Zandvoort.
If you really want to improve your driving technique, you cannot just ask someone to tell you when to brake or when to turn. You have to learn how the car wants you to drive it. You have to learn car handling techniques, and that's where I excel at. The Motor Racing Checklist is the work of my life, currently with 2,000 drivers registered, and here's the thing, if you don't improve in 30 days, you get your money back. So give it a try. If you have any questions, just send me a message. I'm always available to answering these questions. This course is made for high-level drivers. If you're a beginner, you're gonna use it for a long time because all these concepts will help you right away, but the more you improve, the more you understand them, and then you're able to squeeze every concept to the limit, and you're gonna gain precision to be able to apply them in a very subtle way that most people don't even notice a difference in your driving. But those are the small things that make you improve a tenth per corner, and then if you just add up those tenths, you realize you're 1 second faster than everyone else. Give it a try. If you have any question, just send me a message.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
264 drivers entered with a shot at $1,000.
Driver sideways, that is Daniel Holloway at the exit of turn 4. Cars in the wall, it's checkers or records. No caution flags allowed as they wreck towards the back of the pack. Mr. McQueen, Casey Kerwin to the line. He wins the podium 500.